just dive in. First question is from David, who asks, is pushing to failure somewhat self-regulating if you're trying to improve every week? In order to increase reps or weight each week, you're going to have to push hard every week. So in theory, you will have to be pushing to or close to failure to get those extra reps. So proximity to failure definitely plays a role. I believe that's covered quite thoroughly in the relevant video module in the program. But I do think that going to failure should be limited to when you're just doing single sets, simply because of the recovery cost. And it might even, for some, be too hard if you're doing the full body split. So if you do one set to failure, going really hard, and the more advanced you are and the heavier you're lifting and the more able you are to push to failure, then that could possibly lead to a recovery requirement extending beyond 48 hours. So I've had lifters, and some of this was also documented from the creatine kinase value, the CK value on the blood test, that they had elevated CK levels, which is a sign of muscle breakdown. Some level of muscle breakdown and damage is okay, but the particular person that I'm thinking of actually didn't have all that great progress. So that one set to failure was simply too much. So we both still kept just the single sets, but started going 1 to 2 reps from failure. And some find that really difficult because they're so used to pushing to failure that holding back is hard for them. Whereas others are on the opposite side of the spectrum where they've never pushed to failure. And when they think they have pushed to failure, they still have 5 more reps in them. So that's why I think it's a good idea to always calibrate your ability to push to failure and also what is your true limit. On exercises where it's safe to do so, just try to go for that extra rep that you think you won't make. Some are really surprised to see that they're able to make 2 to 3 more reps, and some now understand that, wow, they were really training to failure all along. So if the program is working, even though you are pushing to failure, you should be able to increase load or reps or both from workout to workout. If you're pushing to failure really hard and not progressing, it could be that you need more volume. So the next step would be to go to 2 sets. When you go to 2 sets for that muscle group or exercise, you now start doing 1 to 2 reps in your reserve, simply because we don't want to risk the chance that, so you will get information when you do so. If you go to 2 sets and you now hold back 1 or 2 reps, 2 things could have caused you to stagnate. It could be that pushing to failure was too hard for you. So 2 sets and maybe even 1 set with 1 to 2 reps in reserve would have been better. But I think 2 sets is still safe. It's about the same amount of stimulating reps or effective reps. We believe or trust that model, and I do. So that usually tends to restart progress, both because holding back 1 or 2 reps can be conducive to more better recovery and better progress, but possibly also because you're doing slightly more volume. So we're always looking to optimize the stimulus and minimize the fatigue. But in order to maximize the stimulus, we need to push somewhat close to failure or close to it. So it's always a balancing act, because by pushing to failure, we also induce more fatigue on that final rep than all of the reps before, almost. At least neuromuscular fatigue. So I hope that answered your question. We are trying to improve every workout every week by 1 rep at least, or some loads. And I have a later question that will address realistically how this will look like. But you don't need to push to failure. You need to push close to failure. But I don't think, I know some are claiming that you can just do several sets, 5 or more reps from failure. Which to me is more a warm-up than actual training, if you just do 10 sets of that. And they're claiming that since going to failure is so fatiguing, if you just do all sets, 5 reps from failure and compensate for that by doing tons of sets, then that's less fatiguing. It makes no sense to me at all. I haven't seen that happen in the real world. So 2 hard sets, 1 rep in reserve is way less fatiguing to the system, to the muscle, and to the central nervous system, and 10 sets, 5 reps from failure. That's my claim. And it's going to be way more stimulating and provide more muscle growth and gains. But again, all of this volume stuff is just inducing more muscle damage and more recovery requirements. And the swelling and the edema that goes along with it makes it seem as if you're gaining muscle. But to me, getting stronger means that you are gaining muscle.